Hello again, everyone. In this video, we're going to make a cloud function on GCP. If you're not familiar, cloud functions allow you to define code, and then when you execute it, it'll spin up a container for you, execute your code, and then go away. So there's a lot of advantages to using a cloud function over a full-fledged VM. Cost is the big one, and just being able to, I guess you'd call it serverless, even though, it's got to run somewhere, so that's kind of a lie. Just that you do not have resources consumed when it's not running. So if you have a simple task, it's probably much better to use a cloud function, even though it's a little bit more difficult. Okay, I'm going to try to make this video as quick as possible, as, I feel like people's attention span is maybe 10-15 minutes. I'll probably be pushing that here. So let's jump right in. So I'm on Draw.io right here, and this is what we're going to be doing. This is Google Cloud Scheduler. I guess I could have labeled these. And then we're going to make a schedule that's going to trigger a cloud function that runs DLT. It's going to go to OpenWeather, to their API, grab the daily weather, and then bring that back, load it into BigQuery, and then, you can see the weather. Okay, so I have a GitHub repository here. I'll link that down in the comments. Probably try to clean this up as well. But you can just really run through these commands. If you're familiar with Python and a little bit of GCP, hopefully it's intuitive. You just substitute your project ID for where the project ID is. And then we've got the code that's going to actually fetch the weather data and insert that into BigQuery. I went ahead and put that in a notepad here, just because I'm going to do a find and replace for the sake of time. And let's see. Let's create a new project. You can, of course, do that from the CLI. And then this is just going to be let me make that a little bigger. This is going to be the friendly name that you see, not your actual project ID. But if you do it this way, just a heads up, you might get a no billing account associated with this project. You can do that from the CLI, the Google Cloud CLI, but that's going to expose some info, so I didn't want to do it in this video. And in GCP, I'll show you how to do that, kind of. All right, all that out of the way. Here I am in my GCP account. You can see my projects. I'm going to do a new project. Of course, there's going to be a glitch while I'm recording. Let's go to dashboard. Okay. Gotta love it when... Oh, gotta love it when it acts up. Okay. There we go. Not really sure what that was. So I'm going to do demo cloud function and just do a create. That's going to take a moment to spin up. All right. And you can see my project ID here is Loyal Conduit. And I will be deleting this project right after recording. Just a heads up, if you do use the CLI, I find It's nice because it gives you an error if that project ID is already used. And then you can, if you have your own little number string that you like to use, chances are it's free. A lot of times I like to use 8675309. But now that I said that, others might use it, and maybe that won't work anymore. Okay, so I believe creating it here automatically associated with a billing account. If you do get some kind of error, you would just do billing accounts. And you'd probably get something in here that says select a billing account. And that would get you going. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm just going to come over here and replace all the project IDs. Okay, that looks good. All right. Let me open up a terminal here. I'm on Linux, as you should be as well. And I'm just going to do gcloud init. And I'm going to reinitialize this configuration. And there are my emails. I will try to remember to blur those in the video when I'm editing. Okay, and here are my projects. I'm going to select 2, Loyal Conduit. And so that will mean that I am working on this project in the CLI. Okay, Control L to give us some space here. So first things first, we need to enable these services. So I'm just going to paste those. Let's see. I actually don't know what all of these do, in all honesty. But the best way to learn is to just jump in and you learn about things as problems arise. So you can see we have cloud functions. So that's going to be cloud function run, cloud scheduler, secret manager, where we're going to store our API key, BigQuery, of course, logging, so we can see, well, the logs, cloud builder, because I think it needs to build the container with the code we give it. Okay, see if I make this a little bit bigger without crowding it. So we're going to create a service account and trying to keep this intuitive. Cloud function SA for cloud function service account. And we will need to give it some permissions. Data editor for BigQuery. And job user, I believe that's just because I'm using DLT. And I'll try to remember to talk a little bit about why I'm using DLT and why I like it. So then we'll give that job user. And you could probably turn this into some kind of script if you wanted. But that wouldn't make for a good video. So here we are. Got to remember to delete that out of there so you don't run grant permissions. No harm in it, just that is not a command. Okay. So we will do the cloud scheduler SA for service account. And we are going to give that the run invoker permission. Let's see, log writer, which if you run into issues, this is very important, because otherwise you will not have logs. So you won't really have any info to go on. I ran into that. And the service account. And we will make an API key here in just a moment. It will also need secret accessor because it will need, we're going to put our API key into a Google secret. Let's see, secret. Oh, Okay, let me go ahead and jump over there real quick, and we will make an API key, and then we'll pick back up here. Okay, so here I am at openweathermap.org. You can sign up for free, and then there are a lot of services that you can pay for, historical weather data, but that's actually part of the reason that led me to creating this. Partially lazy and partially as a challenge. So by running this every day, I'm going to eventually get, well, weather data from when I started till whenever I shut it down. So if I want to enrich any data in my area, which is where I'm grabbing weather data, I have that available. And so from here, you would just go My API Keys, and you see I have mine here. I'm going to have to change that after this video. You could also generate one. Actually, let's see. API keys. Oh, just call one test. And there I have a new one. It takes some poking around the documents to figure out which ones are the free ones. But let's see here. And this is in the GitHub repo, of course. If you go down to the URL here, this piece, it takes latitude, longitude, and your API key. Unfortunately, I am an American, so I use imperial to get Fahrenheit. If you're pretty much anywhere else in the world, you're going to want to change that up so you get Celsius. Okay. So I believe I copied that key. I was going off of this text editor. So I'm just going to grab that, paste it here. I'll use this new one here. And I'm going to hold Control so I can get back a little bit quicker. And then just Control-Shift-V. So that's going to put that into gcloud secrets. It's going to name it OpenWeather API Key. And then I should be able to up arrow twice and give this service account access to that secret. Now this is something I feel is very powerful because if you have your code and you're pushing it to GitHub, you don't need to worry about the .env files exposing your sensitive information. Your service account will automatically go grab that and put it into your code as needed. And I don't want to draw this out, but if we look here, this is the piece of code that's going to reach out and get the secret. And that's the Python package we need to access that. Okay. So secret accessor. Then we're just going to set up our code and then deploy it. So let me get a new terminal, make that nice and big, and you probably want to name this, well, you probably want to make a GitHub repo for this, name it the same as your project or cloud function, but for the sake of this, I'm just going to do make dir cloud function and cd into that. Oh, forgot to hit tab. Or if I did, there's multiple directories named cloud. And then I'll open that up. Okay. So first we are going to need our requirements.txt. And we're just going to grab these packages. Control S to save that. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong area here. Space that out a little bit. Grab these packages. Control S. Should probably pin the versions there, but that's okay. And let's see, here is our code. And let's see, if we look here, it doesn't matter what we name it because the source is dot, meaning in this directory where I currently am, this is my code. And I am deploying with Python 3.10. So you'd probably want to create a virtual environment, make it Python 3.10. You could definitely do some testing in there for the functionality before deploying it. But again, trying to keep this a little short. And I'm just going to say doesn't matter .py just to show that it doesn't really matter. Okay, let's see. Some things I want to point out here. I am converting this to the Chicago Central Standard Time Zone, or Central Daylight Savings Time. That can be a little tricky, as the DT here for the date time is epoch time at UTC. So you kind of got to play with that, as well as converting it. And then I'm getting the current time to add to those records, just so I can see when those records were inserted. And also, why am I using DLT, Data Load Tool? Well, there aren't any primary keys in BigQuery, and if you're familiar with things like Delta tables, I find there's a lot of typing that needs to go into there, because if you're updating records, you need to match on a field. And actually, that's not the main reason. But we have a primary key with right disposition merge. Now, this is going to grab, I think, 50 hours worth of records. And I'm running this every day, which means some of those records will overlap. So I'm saying, hey, when you run, if you have a matching timestamp, because that weather data is more current and therefore probably more accurate, update those records. And the biggest reason I really love using DLT for this is, notice I'm not defining a schema. It's going to auto-magically make those tables, put my data in there, and if for whatever reason OpenWeather changes the format, adds fields to their API, well, actually, that's not really true, because I'm doing a transformation here. But if I was just grabbing everything and throwing it in just to have it, and they added or took away more fields, it wouldn't get an error. It would just add those fields to the table and insert that data, which I think is freaking awesome. Okay, and this little decorator here, HTTP, that's so our cloud scheduler can every day just give it a poke and run it. And let me make sure that was saved. I am in that directory, so let's go ahead and deploy it. And actually, we're getting close to the end. Let me take a moment to come back here, go to service accounts, and this might help you in debugging a little bit. You can see we have our cloud function SA for service account. Cloud Scheduler SA, the service count there. And let's see, anything else interesting? We will do Cloud Functions. Event-driven serverless functions, that sounds right. So we don't have anything there. I'm just going to Control C because that's not what I wanted to do. Here we go. Let me grab that. No allow unauthenticated, meaning if there's a meanie out there that gets a hold of our URI or URL endpoint, they can't just poke it and run up our bill. Let's see, invalid value for source. Directory does not have a file main.py. Entry point. Well, the entry point is the function in there, so I guess the name does matter. I lied. I haven't played around enough with that. So here I'm going to just do an MV, which if you're not familiar with Linux, MV is pretty much equivalent to rename, just because move and rename are kind of the same function in Linux. Okay. So there we go. We'll give that a moment. And let's see here. Go ahead and close that and reopen. And while that's spinning up, let me go ahead and head over to BigQuery so we can double check that we don't have any data sets. And actually, I haven't tested this, and that's probably why I should go through these before I record. But I don't think we need to create a data set. I think it automatically will. Oh, that's right. And that does take a few moments. Let's see. Can I go ahead and I'll set up the scheduler. Not too much interesting here. The schedule, this is a cron schedule. If you're not familiar, cron tab is awesome because you can go in here, play around. It will tell you the frequency at which this is going to go. If we look here, it is indeed at 4 in the morning. And that's going to do every day of the month, every month, and every day of the week. Okay. I set that to my time zone. The URI, it's going to be weather to BigQuery. Why is that? Because that's what we named it here when we deployed it. And then this will just be a test where this is going to let us poke it, and we should get some output. If I can find that. So yeah, the return hourly weather data loaded into BigQuery. All right. I'm going to go ahead, Control L, make that nice and big, and I'm just going to go ahead and actually, I'll probably get an error because it's going to, well, I like to break stuff. Let's see if I get an error. I think I will. Oh, I'm being proved wrong all over today. Okay. So it looks like it says, sure, I'll I'll try and poke that at 4 a.m., whether it's there or not. All right. Oop. So there's our cloud function. If we go into that, let's see, a lot of stuff in here. Nothing too interesting. And if you're like, well, where the heck is my code? How can I edit it? You don't want to do that with a cloud function. I think Gen 1 did that, but with Gen 2, you're going to want to go to storage and buckets. So if you did not save this into a GitHub repo or otherwise just lost all your code, you can go in here and then there's going to be a zip file, and then that's going to be your source code. So then you can download it, hopefully save it somewhere secure, and just keep developing. All right, moment of truth. Let's look at Cloud Scheduler real quick before we run that. Okay, it hasn't run yet. We could do it either here with the force run, but I also want to show, I like how this gets a token that basically says, well, hey, I am authenticated. And then you can just run this curl and say, hey, run this function. I am authenticated. I've got a golden ticket. Well, it's not a golden ticket, but it's a token that lets you run it. And so if I just paste that in here, please note that using that is a little odd. So what that's saying is that my token wasn't valid for getting the data from the API endpoint that I'm going against. So let's do this. Guess that's probably good if you get something similar. Yeah, I'll delete this real quick after I'm done. I do this way too often. Scratch.ipy for IPython notebook. Let's import requests. Choose a Python environment, 312. Let's see, weather equals requests.get. And what do I want to get? Escape B, escape B. I'm going to define some variables real quick here. I need my latitude, my longitude. And then I need an API key. Let me close this bracket while I'm over here. And our API key is not blank. Let me copy that. Name request is not defined. Oh, sometimes if you run this and you choose an environment, it doesn't actually execute that code. So let's do weather.json. And let's make sure we have our hourly. And no, you are not slow, dumb, or lacking in skills. I only know this because I've worked with this data, and I know there's a field called hourly. So that is there. Oh, I love technology. Let's poke it again. Let's get a token. Call by call plan. You know what? Let me use the API key. That is a head scratcher. If I figure this out, I'm going to put it down in the description and explain that. Control Z. Okay, so they both work, but running it in the cloud function is giving an error. Let me double check the code I'm executing. It is executing that. This should make no difference, but let's do a force run here. And this is, oh no, not there. I want to view the logs. This is pretty helpful if you're debugging. It should have some logs here. Failed. Let's see. The only thing I can think of now is I did not put that into my Google secret correctly. And let's see. Not in that window. I was probably in this one. Usually I just look at the first character, which is 8, the last one, which is D. And I Control Z to get the old one. I'm going to do two things here real quick. One, I'm going to write that secret again. And then two, I'm going to give the surface account permissions to that secret again. And let me double check that I gave the log writer permissions. Let's see. Can we do... It would be intuitive if we could update. Let me go ahead, give it log writer. Give it access to the secrets again. And I'm going to try to run that one more time. Oh, nope. Ran the wrong command. And while that's going, I'm going to look here. That is the Cloud Scheduler service account log writer. Go back here. Let's see, I don't think that the logs would be under here. Oh. Okay. So whatever that was. But now I'm going to open up a window here, and I am curious but yeah, talking, recording, and coding at the same time. I think I just missed the secret accessor, or maybe if I did, the secret wasn't fully propagated to a place it could get to. But yeah, that's a head scratcher. Okay, let's see. Cloud scheduler service account shows no logs. Oh, and I still have that on the reasoning model. Let me let that run. We'll go ahead and we'll head over to BigQuery. And if we look here, we do have the weather data staging. This is a data set DLT creates to do its merges, I believe. And then if we look over here, hourly weather is where our data is going to live. That was way up high. So if we go here, okay, weather data and hourly weather. So it did create the data set for us, which is freaking awesome. So I'm going to query. And we see here, let's go ahead and order these a little bit. I'm going to order by readable DLT ascending, because I believe the first record will be the nearest hour. It's 5:44 p.m. here. So let's see, 1700. So that's 5 p.m. Temperature 42 degrees, feels like 35. Humidity, pressure, wind speed, clouds. So we have our data. I think I ran over with the errors, so this is taking a bit of time. But if you wanted to kind of test DLT, you would just add another field like tests, and you could set that to, I don't know, it works or something like that. Don't forget your comma. And then redeploy this. How would you redeploy it? So every time you update it, you would just need to grab this piece here and deploy it again. It's going to see you already have a function with that name, update it, and then also in your Google Cloud Storage bucket, you'll be able to see the past versions of your code. So if you deploy it and something breaks, that's awesome. You can go back and grab your old code. And let's see what ChatGPT has to say. Query builder. That's just asking us to confirm. I'm thinking this one's a hiccup as well. Excuse Excuse me. And yes, I want to leave with my unsaved work. Sometimes you have to poke this once or twice to get it to go. Oh, actually that is going because oh, really? Of course it flips right when I'm about to reapply the permissions. If that didn't flip, or if it didn't show success, I would have just gone back in here, tried to reapply the permissions. Let's see. You know what, I'll probably take this offline, just put something down in the comments, or not the comments, in the description of this video once I figure out what it is. But I have run through this once or twice because I actually do have something similar running in another project that runs every day, and I do have logs. But the log writer should do it. Okay, I'm going to try one more time and then no. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess we'll leave that here for now. But as always, I kind of like it when we run into some of those errors. And I get to test some stuff live. Remember, you do need to call your file main. If you run into issues, reapply those permissions. And then also I will figure out what the command is to update the Google secret and put that in the description as well. Okay, quick aside here. So I finished recording, and then maybe 10 minutes later I came back, and so maybe another 5-10 minutes I was poking around, driving myself crazy, asking ChatGPT, hey, what's wrong with these permissions, etc. And then I came in here to view logs, and presto, there they are. So again, I might re-record this and make it more streamlined, but nature of the beast when you're working in technology, data engineering, things like that. You get used to the hiccups, so if you did these, or followed the instructions and gave it the log writer permissions, or log writer, give it 20-30 minutes and maybe those logs are just not propagated yet. But that's it for this video, and I'll see you in another one.